I don't know how else to start off this video by saying, wow, this looks awesome. Welcome back, everybody. This is probably the most hyped deck I was looking forward to in set 12. This is Silhouette. He got a big upgrade in forms of the new strong arms that he got and his new grade 3, which is kind of the same as the last grade 3, but like we'll make do with that, right? But we're gonna get into this profile. I just wanted to really quick show off the full art that I got. We got this from our case, and I was literally like, I was like giddy when I saw this. I was so happy. But we'll get into the profile real quick. So we've got our grade 0. Can't can't do it without him. Oh boy, I'm dropping stuff. There we go. We got the grade 1, which when you ride the grade 1, you get to grab the set order card, which is really cool. We have the grade 2, which is when the grade 3 rides over it, you get to take 2 arms from your drop and call them back to your field. That way you're set up for the next turn when you ride Grand Arms Silhouette. So Grand Arms Silhouette has one new ability that's a little different, or that makes it different from the last one, which is you can Soul Blast specifically the set order to, if your opponent's at grade 3, to give your arms an extra 5k, which is really cool. Uh, but otherwise, the rest of it reads exactly the same, which is when it attacks, or at the beginning of the attack step, you Soul Blast 1, you arm it with both of your arms, and at the end of the battle that it attacks, you get to unattach one of those arms so it can attack again. Uh, which is, it's basically like the same thing as the original Silhouette, but with that extra power buff if your opponent's at grade 3 and you put the set order in there. Um, but yeah, it's like I said, this is almost like literally the same card as the original one, but tiny buff to effect. We're gonna go to the grade 3 portion real quick. We're playing 3 Persona rides, and our Regalis piece is going to be Radiant's Caliburn. So Caliburn is my choice for the deck because this deck does go through a bit of counterblast. But worst comes to worst, drawing 2 is never a bad idea. Twin Cast is also a really good fit for this deck. Um, I guess you could do Fire Regalis too, but I haven't really like desperately wanted it. But you have a lot of ways that this deck can go with its Regalis piece because realistically, you're not like desperate on playing a set order every turn. At least I haven't been able to play a set order every turn. So that is it for the grade 3s. We'll go to the grade 2s. So we got 4 copies of Strong Left. We got 4 copies of Strong Right. We'll set them up like that. There we go. So they both have the ability that once you're at grade 3, they intercept for an extra 5k shield, which is a huge buff to the original arms. But the other huge buff to these arms is that they actually work when you're at grade 2. So beforehand, the other ones had to like retire stuff, to draw cards. You had to wait till your opponent was at grade 3, uh, or you were at grade 3. But now you don't have to. You just have to make sure that you have a Silhouette Vanguard, which is pretty easy to do. Um, so this one gives you, when it's attached to the Vanguard, gives you a crit, and then it also, when it attacks, you can counterblast 1, or sorry, when it attacks, you get +5. Then you can counterblast 1 to retire something if you really want to. I don't normally end up retiring stuff, but sometimes it comes up. And then this one, when it attacks, or if it's on the Vanguard circle, it does 2 different things. So if just when it attacks, you can counterblast 1 to draw 1. When it's on the Vanguard circle, you can counterblast 1 to look at top 3. You put 1 to hand, you put 1 to soul, and you put 1 to bottom of deck. So it's like a little Bifron's effect, which is really cool. It helps you keep up with the soul because this deck does. It feels like it goes through a little more soul than it did before, but that is perfectly fine. We have 1 ace unit, so whoa, what are you doing there, bud? Hold up. Get you guys like a tiny bit back. There we go. AC unit. So here's the thing. You have a use for your energy every turn, but you need to find that card. And even though you play four of it, there are some games it's harder to find, which is why I play the ace unit just in case to see if I can dig it out of the deck. And to also help with that, we are playing two of the energy cycler. Uh, because if you don't find the main way to use your energy, you just have like extra energy laying around, and there's no point to blasting 7 when we can just use 3 effectively. So that is why we're teching these 3 in. Um, you could play an extra arm, like you could play one copy of the drill if you really want to. I just haven't had a game where I've been desperate to have the drill back in the deck. But we go on to 3 copies of the order that we're going to grab. This is really cool because you can tap it and you look at top 7 and you get to either add uh, or you get to, if you don't have one in the grave, you get to send an arms to the grave, or you get to add an arms to hand. But if you add to hand, this card goes to soul. I try to avoid doing that just so I can uh, keep keep this on board because it has another really good effect, which is you can put it to soul if you're at grade 3 to bring back 2 arms from your drop to the field. It's really important that you have a way to recur the arms at all times. So I try to keep that there as long as I can. The most important use of your energy is Winton. Yay, Winton. So Winton gives your, if you're at grade 3, it gives your front row, well, not your front row, just your arms in the front row plus 5k power, but he has to be behind the Vanguard, which is totally fine. And then the end of the battle that uh, your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent's at grade 3, you Energy Blast 3 to take an extra arm and move it to your rearguard circle. This is how you get 5 attacks on the deck. So if you don't see this card, you're only doing 4 attacks, and it's just not great. Uh, that's kind of all there is to it. You desperately need to see this card. We got 3 copies of Runny. I love Runny, man. He's just a cute little like Wally robot. He's got the ability when he's placed on rear, you look at top 7 for a Soul Blast 1, and you pick 2 different arms, and you get to send one to the grave, add the other to hand. We're always a big fan of that. And then the important part, when you're grade 3 with silhouette attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 and gives your Vanguard the Battle Door effect. So your opponent has to block with 2 or more cards from hand. This is typically how we force them to give us like a lot of extra cards because how I have the triggers, you'll understand that we have it a little what's the word? A little different from what's conventional. We have 2 copies of is it Wolfhood? Wolfhood. Basically, this has one ability because I've really never used its other ability. So its first ability that I haven't used is Soul Blast. You Soul Blast 2 to take an arms from your drop, add it back to your hand, and he gets +5. The ability I do end up using though is to retire himself to add back the set order from your drop back to hand. It does come up. It's very important. Don't what's the word? Don't like waste the effect, if that makes sense, and don't waste the soul because soul is really important in this deck. I'm on 2 copies of Bulbul Mine. Countercharge is kind of important for this deck, so you can because your arms eat up a lot of counterblast. And then I have 1 copy of the new Triple R. So the new Triple R is really interesting because the first effect isn't like interesting for the deck because it's like look at top 5 for an order card. We only play 3 order cards, and you dig one out of your deck first thing. So it's like that part's not very important, but the other part is it has an activate skill to counterblast 1 and call an arms back from your drop to field. It just gives you a little bit of recurability, which is really nice. Uh, it, it sometimes it's really good. Sometimes I'm like I don't desperately need it, which is why I have it at 1 copy. If a situation occurs where I want more, you know, I'll hunt down more. And obviously 4 perfect cards. I mean, what can we say about the perfect cards, right? You gotta play them. Everything's scary. don't want to take damage, all that stuff. But yeah, that is it for just the normal units. And then going on to the triggers, Elder Breath is horrifying in this deck because when you give, so when you use this additional effect to give your front row double its power, double its critical, that applies while they're armed to the Vanguard. Meaning when you call them back, they will if one of them's if they're both at 30k, they'll both be 60k with a crit. And if you hit fronts, it just gets bigger from there, which is why we are playing a lot of fronts. That's right, we're playing 4 of the shield front, and we are playing 3 copies of the soul front, which means we're of course on 4 regular crits and 4 regular heals. So here's the thing. A lot of times I've seen people try this deck out. They're like, you have to play 7 crit and you play 4 fronts because it just makes sense. Uh, but every game that I've played, I've never like hitting a crit normally isn't the game winner for me because when I flip a crit, my opponent's perfect guarded the Vanguard. They look at both my rear guards and they're like, oh cool. If I take one of those, I hit defensive and I block the other one for 5k, and then I just gotta sit there and be like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool, I guess. So that's why I've opted to play more fronts because it also means if your opponent doesn't have the perfect guard and they look at your silhouette attack and they're like, hey, two triggers to pass. You just look at them and you say that is one front to pass, and they gotta reevaluate their whole life on the spot because they're like, what? No way, that can't be. But yeah, I personally prefer the fronts, especially because, like I said, we do go through the soul a little bit. This deck is a little resource intensive, so the soul fronts are very important, and obviously the shield fronts are very important too. So I'd rather just skimp out on the critical triggers, especially when your Vanguard also attacks with a crit every turn. So it's like I'd rather just focus on actually wearing my opponent down. So yeah, that is it for the triggers, and that is it for this profile. Uh, I will say this deck's a lot of fun. I don't know how expensive this deck is. Obviously, I think with all the effect triggers, this deck is a lot more expensive. But if you're looking for a deck that's probably still cheap, like without the effect triggers, and is really fun, this is the deck 100%. You got to give this deck a try. It's so cool. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one later.